Welcome to another model building workshop, and today we're going to continue working on the T-55A M. This is the Soviet main battle tank that's in widespread use around the world today. I'm Mr. Allen. I'm from the Smith Hill Library, part of the Providence Community Library here in Providence, Rhode Island. Check us out online. So, when we left off, been working on getting the wheels and the suspension parts together. So here's the bottom of the hull here. Now we got another set of things to put there, but we got one set going here, and the wheels are going to go on like so. They're really loose, so it's going to be interesting kind of gluing these things on. And I had a couple of these wheels that, these two right here in fact, that they didn't have the holes in the model. The molds weren't very good. I had to clear them out because they were crooked. They were off center, which is going to make a really confusing lineup when I try to put this on. As it is now, it might still be a little awkward, but I'm going to have to work on that and try to adjust that and line it up just right. So there's the hull, and I'm thinking of painting these wheels first and then maybe painting the hull and putting it on, because when you get the wheels on and you get the tracks on, it tends to be, painting tends to be really complicated. So I'm trying to figure that out, the best way to get in there and paint this. I've done these before, and I think I just built it and sprayed it and painted it, but it might be easier to try to get these wheels and tires done first and then put them on, get this color, get this area painted, and then put them on. Then if I have to scrape some paint off for the track to go on, I don't know, we'll see. I'm still thinking this through. So as far as painting is concerned, since this tank is already molded in a sand color, I'm thinking it might be easier to try to do kind of an Iraqi type version or some sort of a desert version. That's what I'm currently thinking. And I do have some of these numbers around to work with from another source of kits here. A lot of extra numbers from some Dragon model kit. I forgot what it went to at this point, but there's it's in this bag here. Got some Iraqi numbers there, and some Kuwaiti stuff. So I might just keep it in an overall sand from the do it for like the 1991 Gulf War. That's what I'm thinking at the moment. Okay, so I've got a few different little sub-assemblies to work on, because there's a bunch of different storage boxes and the exhaust system that go on this, and I've got to figure out the machine gun, which is kind of a pain, and that would go on the turret. The detail of the machine gun is not particularly good. That is a bit of an eyesore on this kit. It's not horrible, but it's clearly not high quality, and it kind of shows, but the rest of the kit I think is really good. So I need to think about what I'm going to do with the machine gun, either replace it, or a cheap solution to this would be to just drape it in some sort of a dust cover. I don't know yet. I've seen different ways of other modelers doing that trick, of just kind of wrapping it in like a tissue paper that's been soaked in white glue, like Elmer's glue, and then you just kind of put it over the gun and maybe get some string and tie it into place, and then let it dry. It'll harden and conform, and then you can spray it or paint it by hand, whatever, in some sort of a tarp color, and then you'd be all set. So it's a concept. I got to see if I want to go through all that or not. I don't know. We'll see. So I started working on this step 3 here before, with the different pieces that are going onto the hull body, and it shows all the gas tanks there that are going to go on. What it doesn't show well is the exact placement of where those tanks are lining up. So I was able to find a schematic of a T-55 here. And this does show a pretty good layout, overhead view of how everything sits on the hull body and where the positions would be. So I get a better idea of exactly where, do you push them in? Are they out by the fender? Are they, those kind of questions are kind of answered pretty well in that diagram. And while I was going through some of the papers here that I had printed out for the model building class from like last year, I also have some other photos of some different types of T-55s in action around the globe, different paint schemes that were out there. And I provided these so that the kids would have some ideas of what they wanted to do with it, if they were so ambitious to try some other paint schemes. I think this one here is from Afghanistan. Some interesting colors on that. East German with the snow. The Czech one in sand and green and brown. There's some other ones here. Those are kind of harder to see. The top one's a very heavily camouflaged Croatian one, then an Iraqi one, and then not sure if that's Russian with the winter. But anyhow, that's one thing that's interesting about the T-55 tank. I believe this is the most produced tank in history, and I think the most exported tank out there. This is sold everywhere, so there's so many different variants to this tank, and so many different ways you can paint this and put markings on it because it was in use with everybody. All right, so getting back to assembly. So I had this gas can, this extra gas can. It was supposed to go in the back here. So I'm getting an idea where they're supposed to sit on these fenders. So I'm going to start working on getting those on. And starting to turn this into something. I mean, I know it looks frightening with all these parts, but it's really not that bad of an assembly process once you get going. I know the tracks are going to be a bit of a headache, but I've done this before, and I've managed, and it does look pretty good when you're done. A little patience. It's basically all you need. That's a 13, that's 13. Oh, sorry, these are all the same. Oop. There's a little one here. It's all about the maximization of space on these vehicles. How to fit as much useful storage on the tank. Clean up some of that. Sometimes it can be a pain where they put these connecting points because you got to sand down some awkward areas on these things. Here's the little one. Yeah, it's a lot of extra flash on this piece. Although it's coming off pretty easily, so it's not really fighting much. That helps. This has got a little more than most parts to clean up. And then the last one here. Okay. So let's start getting these down. Yeah, luckily I have the diagram. Got enough diagram there to compare the two. Yeah, pretty much the same thing. Okay. All right. Oops. All right, there's one. The key is to watch where there's a little, I was going to see it there. There's this little cap where they would fill or empty the gas cans. And looking at the instructions, they go in various different positions on the vehicle. I mean, if you make a mistake, you make a mistake. I don't think it's crucial, obviously, but just something to pay attention to in the instructions. So this is 13. All right, it's a little tricky because that has the turret ring is sitting there. All right, it's not making a lot of sense to me. That one doesn't want to fit. Not sure what, oh, maybe that goes up front. Yeah, it's got to go up here. This doesn't make any sense at all to me. 1, 2. This little one goes in. All right, that's confusing because it doesn't really want to fit on there. I can't fit that there because that won't go. It gets caught up in the turret. It does seem to have a lot of extra space there when this goes in. Oh, I guess it's still correct. It just looks weird. Yeah, it's kind of strange. This also shows another little tiny fuel tank by the rear fender, but anyway, there's so many different variants of these tanks, so I'm sure things were done very differently in each one. Oops, make sure that lines up right. And then the last one goes up front here. Yeah, a little vague on the instructions. I'll show you just a second. I know you probably won't know what I'm talking about. I'll explain that. Oops. Sorry, I got that in upside down. Okay. Okay, so there's the fuel storage tanks. And the issue was, all right, so you got this cast metal piece that would be here, which is part of the turret. Yeah. And it looked like this one was supposed to be further back and this one was supposed to be here, but it's impossible to fit it with this curved piece there, so it's not even possible. So it is very vague in the instructions how that was supposed to sit. So, but if you look at the overhead here, there is a gap there, so it looks like it's good to have this because that instruction is a little off. All right, let's see what else we can do here. So there are some Fender pieces that go on here, brackets. Where are you? Number 20 is this one. Okay. And ready for the ka-chunk? There it is. Another one. So with these little triangular brackets, unfortunately there's some nasty mold markings on the back here. I'll show you what I mean in just a second. You could fill those in, but you can't even see that. But you see the little circular holes that are not supposed to be there. That's from when the ejector pins, kicked the mold out of the machine when they were molding the plastic. I'm going to try to just stick this thing in. And I could try to use putty or something to fill that in, but that would be challenging. So right now, see if I can get this to sit in there. There it goes. Luckily it's up against the fuel tank, so it's probably not going to be that obvious. Alright, so there's, you can see it there, bracket on the back. So there's a few of those that would go on. There's the headlights, and there's these, alright, let me see what else we can do here. Put on a large piece, I can find that part. There's the engine grill part, which I'm going to use here. Because I know you can buy different conversion kits of this model if you want to do like an earlier version of, there was the T-54, which was before the T-55. It had a few differences. One was, this is the engine cover with the grills and whatnot. On recent kits by other manufacturers, these grills, instead of being, solid plastic with a mesh design on it, they would probably be photo etched metal actual screens. But this is an older kit from the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, so it doesn't have that feature on it. Bit simplified, but still, pretty good detail. You can still, if you did a good wash with some dark colored paint like black or dark brown, maybe thinned with some kind of a thinner and kind of washed it in there, you would probably get a good detail. All right, so that's going to sit, it fits nicely and pops right in into this opening here. So this is, like I said, this is open. I don't think that was the intention of this model manufacturer, but because this is a wide open piece for this to go in, other manufacturers have made update sets so you could put a different engine grill in if you wanted to convert this into a different model, different variant. Like I said, the T-54 is a different one, so you could put that in there, etc. So there's a lot of these aftermarket, they call them, companies that create these update sets. It gives them, a business where they can manufacture parts that would go to an existing model like this. So if you want to do something different, I've seen ones that are out there that have like a bulldozer blade you can mount to the front if you want. I've seen one sets with mine rollers that would go in the front where they would clear minefields. So there's different types of things you can do with these. And there's plenty of different modification sets if you want to do versions of the T-55 that were captured by the Israelis and heavily modified. So there's those sets out there as well. Okay, what else we got here? Check on the clock here. How are we doing? Oh, we're doing pretty good. And let me see what else we can get here. There is the hatch for the driver in the front here. So, let me get these guys. So one thing we're doing in the class is we had these different sets of tank crew figures from different manufacturers and from different nationalities. We have, I believe these are Korean. This guy's kind of cool. He's got a face mask on, so does this guy's got goggles on. But in theory, you could, position somebody in the driver's hatch if you wanted to. I don't think I'm going to, but that option was there, to do that. I think I'm just going to close up this driver's hatch and not put a crewman in there, but the options exist because there's many other different crew sets for these kits. At this point, I think there's almost countless numbers of Soviet crew figures for different tanks, and you could even narrow it down to what era you want, because I think they go to the 50s and 60s, the 70s and 80s, current, and then they have crews if you want to do from the Middle East. They have different Middle Eastern tank crew sets. They have Israeli tank crew sets, so there's lots of possibilities. I think there's one for Chinese tank crew sets if you want to do Chinese versions of these, which China had these, although they modified them pretty heavily. So it gives you lots of different choices. All right, so let's just put this hatch on. Just gonna close it up, and there it is. Pretty instant, no fuss, boom, closed. So this is, like I said, going pretty quickly. Not a big amount of fuss, really, on doing this. A few other things I could be working on. Let me just show you how one of these storage boxes goes. We'll use these. I'll try to. Come on, you want to let go? Sure you do. Sure you do. You don't know it yet, but you do. All right, let's get that. Something else you'll notice on these kits is these spare, these fuel tanks, fuel drums that frequently went on the back of Russian tanks. see them sitting there on these diagrams. They were not always carried, or sometimes they just carried one. Like this person's got them, this guy's only got one. And it was not uncommon for tanks. All right, you can see these, they don't seem to have them. But it wasn't uncommon for tanks in the Middle East to not have those, since there was oil everywhere. It wasn't like an issue in that area for oil and fuel. So they didn't always carry the spare fuel drums. And even with those, if you wanted to be really creative, you could paint those in different ways, because I've seen them camouflaged, like the color of the vehicle, and I've seen them just rusty, which was common. But I've also seen them maybe in green from, for the desert, it could be, they have a green one that was from a depot that didn't match the color of the tank, so that's not uncommon. But I've also seen them getting civilian barrels from gas stations that could be painted in like the red and yellow colors of Shell gasoline, for example, maybe even having the Shell gas logo on it. And there are companies out there, I think it's Mini Art, I'm not positive, I think it's Mini Art, that is putting out sets of those fuel drums with those decals, so you can do it in that way if you wanted to do it. And having all the different gas station fuel company logos from around the globe. And again, they're done for different time periods. So depending on what era you want to produce, you can get a fuel can that would have that on it. All right, let me make sure I've got this going in the right position. Make sure the locks of the storage box are facing upwards, which they are. Glue. There we go. And we get that. This gets a little fiddly here. Type the top on it. Okay, and then we put the top on. It's really handy to have these glue here. You just draw a line, makes this so much easier. Because before these, I used to do, the glue from a tube, and then I would be working with toothpicks to try to get the glue to spread properly. It's not the greatest fit there. I'm not that thrilled with that. Just add a little more, make sure it stays on there, right? All right. Get this. Okay, that's right now. All right, so they're calling that assembly E here. So then what I got to do is I have to look at the other diagram and see, all right, where's E? E is this one here. So that's going to sit in here. And it has two brackets next to it. So I may need to get those brackets on there, and then we can put that down. And we may finish this up soon for the day. Because the rest of this is just going to be minor detail parts. I mean, the turret, I'll figure out what I'm going to do with the turret, since most of this has already been built. And I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with that, because I've got, this turret here, which I can work on, which I may or may not want to use. Or I might do a different aftermarket turret. I don't know yet. But Let me figure out, what am I trying to find? Oh yeah, those brackets. Let's get those on there. And then that was 18, I believe. Let me just check that. 18. Okay, so this is that little triangular piece. One's designed to drive you nuts. You know what? To try to make this a little easier, I'll try tweezers and see if that will make this a little less painful. Got the last one out without too much difficulty, but it takes a very steady hand. Don't touch the sides. I don't have an electronic zap for the operation game here to go with this. Okay, well that helps a lot, because there it is. See it? There. Let's try the other one, and then we'll put this box down, and we'll get some of this top looking like something. And at that point, it just becomes other little fiddly bits of, you know, the exhaust pipe, a few more boxes that you got to build, like this one. A couple of clamps on the front. These tow hooks you can put in. One thing that's fun with the, I'll explain this in a second. Let me get this bracket and then we'll get on with it. Just saying that the T-55, or most tanks tend to have these tow brackets in the front and the back, so that in a pinch they can help tow or pull. For example, if a truck got stuck in the mud, they could put some chains on these tow hooks and just pull the truck out of the mud, that kind of thing. That's common. It's been a common feature on tanks pretty much since World War I think. It's a very big, powerful tractor if you think about it. Oops. Darn, come on. Maybe I shouldn't have bothered with the tweezers. I'm having more trouble with the tweezers than I would have with my fingers. Okay, try again. There it goes. All right, so the storage box sits in there. Let me see that overhead view again. It seems like it sits back pretty far. All right, so I'm gonna put that storage box. And who knows what was stored in this box? You know, tools for fixing the tank maybe. All right, so there's a storage box. There's one there. There's a few more that'll go on here. This space here is where the exhaust pipe is going to go. That's going to sit there. And I got some headlights, and then there's the tow hooks in front. And you can see the tow hooks are here. There's a board that's fastened on. It's actually usually a wooden board. And that's a splash guard that they put down. Literally, so when it goes to a puddle, the water doesn't ride up this lovely slope and go right into the driver's lap if he's got the hatch open. It's literally, they got a board that's put there to help deflect the water so it doesn't go all over him. Simple but effective, right? So we're getting there, okay? This is gonna be mounted onto the chassis hull there, and then get the turret on. So you can see this is starting to take shape. Starting to get there, not too difficult. Tracks might be interesting, but like I said, I've done it before. I didn't find, they're not in my memory as being anything horrible. So we'll see how that goes. All right, I think we'll stop there for the day. You're starting to see how this is coming together. Like I said, I'll figure out what I'm going to do with the turret, because this is one that, well, I might be able to continue to work with this. I may have an option as well. Maybe I'll do two. So we have either or. Don't know yet. But that's, you know, like I said, most of it's done. There's the machine gun that would go on the front here. There's a few brackets that would go on the side for storage. That's pretty much it. Oh, it's the searchlight. There's a searchlight that would go here. So, all right. And that's what we got right now. And be sure to check out other things on our website and on the YouTube channel here, Proud's Community Library YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our website, and we'll see you guys real soon. Bye.